the real power behind the world. Economic Forum. Fade in, snow dust the jagged peaks of the Swiss Alps, where a lone private jet slices through the mist, descending toward a valley that seems untouched by time. Inside, a CEO scrolls through reports on supply chain disruptions, while across the aisle, a head of state reviews notes on fragile trade deals. This is Davos, not just a place, but a ritual. For 5 decades, it has drawn the world's most influential minds to a single, secluded spot, promising collaboration amid chaos. Yet, as the world grapples with pandemics, inequality, and climate collapse, whispers grow. Who truly pulls the strings here? Is the World Economic Forum a beacon of progress or a velvet-gloved grip on global destiny? This is the story of an organization that doesn't govern but shapes everything we take for granted. In the turbulent wake of World War II, Europe lay in ruins, its industries gutted, and its leaders searching for a path forward. Klaus Schwab, born in 1938 in Ravensburg, Germany, grew up amid the shadows of Reconstruction. A brilliant engineer and economist with degrees from Harvard and the University of Freiburg, Schwab witnessed how American management techniques rebuilt shattered economies. By the late 1960s, as a professor at the University of Geneva, he saw Europe's businesses lagging, focused on short-term profits, blind to broader societal ripples. In 1971, with an initial endowment of just 25,000 Swiss francs, Schwab founded the European Management Forum as a not-for-profit foundation in Geneva. Its mission was simple yet revolutionary: convene Europe's top executives to discuss not just balance sheets, but their responsibility to stakeholders, workers, communities, even the environment. The first symposium that January drew 450 leaders to Davos, a serene Alpine resort inspired by Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain, where fresh air was said to clear the mind for bold ideas. Schwab called it the Davos spirit, informal chats over fondue that fostered trust amid competition. By 1973, global shocks like the collapse of the Bretton Woods system and the Yom Kippur War forced a pivot. Politics entered the room. Political leaders joined for the first time in 1904, transforming a business club into a hybrid arena. Membership formalized in 19s limited to 1,000 leading companies, each paying hefty fees. Today, up to 700,000 Swiss francs annually for access to this inner circle. Schwab's vision of stakeholder capitalism took root. Profit wasn't the end game. It was the means to balance economic growth with social equity. As the Cold War thawed, the forum's influence deepened. Renamed the World Economic Forum in 1987 to reflect its global ambitions, it became a neutral ground for uneasy allies. Greek and Turkish leaders signed a no-war declaration in Davos that year. Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk met face-to-face in 1992, accelerating apartheid's end. Schwab, now a fixture with his measured German accent, built a network that spanned continents, drawing in not just CEOs but academics, NGOs, and youth via the Global Shapers community, launched in 2011 with hubs in over 500 cities. By the 1990s, annual reports like the Global Competitiveness Index, first published in 1979, became Bibles for policymakers, benchmarking nations on innovation and resilience. The 1990s marked Davos as a geopolitical fulcrum. In 1994, Peter Sutherland, GATT's Director General, proposed expanding beyond the G7 to include emerging economies, a seed that bloomed into the G20 in 1999, born from Davos debates on inclusive global management. Russian oligarchs, fresh from privatization windfalls, huddled there in 1996 to back Boris Yeltsin's re-election, reshaping Russia's trajectory. Yet, this era also sowed seeds of unease. As globalization surged, so did disparities. The richest 1% captured nearly half of new wealth, per Oxfam analyses. Protests erupted outside the barbed wire perimeter. Activists in ski masks chanting against Davos man. Samuel Huntington's term for the cosmopolitan elite detached from national loyalties. The turning point came with the 2008 financial crisis, a reckoning for unchecked markets. Davos, 2009, co-envisioned amid bailouts and bank collapses, with leaders like Angela Merkel and Barack Obama dialing in virtually. The forum launched the Financial Development Report, urging benchmarks for stable systems, but critics saw hypocrisy. Attendees from Lehman Brothers and AIG had profited from the very deregulation that fueled the crash. Schwab responded by amplifying voices from the global south, inviting more heads from Africa and Asia, and creating the open forum Davos in 2003, a free counter-event for civil society. Still, the crisis exposed fault lines. While G20 finance ministers plotted recovery in London, Davos whispered the real strategies over cognac. The 2010s accelerated the forum's pivot to existential threats. Climate change stormed the agenda after Al Gore's impassioned pleas. The 2014 launch of Warranty.org aimed to grow, restore, and conserve 1 trillion trees by 2030, partnering with over 100 countries. Health crises followed. The Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, co-founded in 2017, mobilized billions for vaccines, crediting Davos for bridging public funds with private innovation. Yet, turning points weren't without friction. In 2015, Oxfam's Winnie by Enigma co-chaired the meeting, spotlighting how billionaire wealth had surged 12% amid poverty's rise, a stark rebuke to the champagne toasts inside. Then came COVID-19, the ultimate disruptor. As borders slammed Hut in early 2020, the forum's annual meeting shifted online, but its influence peaked. Schwab, alongside then Prince Charles, unveiled the Great Reset in June, a blueprint to rebuild economies not as before, but greener and fairer. It called for harnessing the fourth industrial revolution's technologies, AI, biotech, quantum computing, to foster resilience. Initiatives like the Edison Alliance targeted digital inclusion for 1 billion people by 2025, while the reskilling revolution sought to upskill another 1 billion for a job market upended by automation. These weren't mere white papers. They echoed in G7 summits and UN assemblies, with partners like the IMF citing WEF data in recovery plans. At its core, the forum's power lies not in decrees, but in convening, the alchemy of proximity. With a board of trustees boasting figures like Christine Lagarde, Larry Fink, and Kristalina Georgieva, it operates as a think tank on steroids, churning out over 100 reports yearly. The Global Risks Report, launched in 2006, has forecasted black swans from cyber pandemics to biodiversity loss, informing central banks and corporations. Economically, stakeholder capitalism reframes profit as stewardship. Companies pledge fair taxes, zero corruption, and human rights in supply chains. As per the 2020 Davos Manifesto, this model has spurred ESG investing. Trillions now flow into funds prioritizing environment, social equity, and governance, yet it hinges on voluntary buy-in from the very firms that dominate global GDP. Mechanisms amplify this sway. The Young Global Leaders Program, started in 2000, grooms under 40 talents. Over half of Justin Trudeau's 2015 cabinet were alumni, including Chrystia Freeland. It's not infiltration, but osmosis. Ideas like penetrating cabinets, as Schwab once quipped, spread through shared networks. Financially, the WEF's model thrives on symbiosis. Corporate dues fund operations, yielding CHF 349 million in 2019 revenues, while members gain unparalleled access. Critics decry it as a money-printing machine, with Schwab's million-franc salary symbolizing elite insulation. Yet, this ecosystem has tangible effects. The platform for shaping the future of health and healthcare, for instance, shaped Gavi's vaccine alliances, immunizing 1.1 billion children and averting 18.8 million deaths by 2023. Power's shadow falls on accountability. The forum's tax-exempt status and opaque membership, criteria blending revenue thresholds with invitations, fuel accusations of undemocratic capture. Protests peaked in the 2000s, with thousands blockading roads, decrying globalization's toll on the poor. Environmental hypocrisy stings. 1,000 the 300 private jets spewed emissions for the 2020 meeting, undermining climate pledges. Controversies compound. 2004 scandals over undeclared fees. 2025 whistleblower claims of data manipulation in competitiveness rankings for allies like the UK and India, prompting Schwab's retirement amid internal probes. These revelations underscore a tension. An organization born to democratize dialogue now grapples with its own elite echo chamber. In 2025, as geopolitical fractures widen, from Ukraine's war to U.S.-China decoupling, the forum's Davos gathering pulsed with urgency. Under the theme Collaboration for the Intelligent Age, 3,000 leaders from 125 countries tackled AI governance, with sessions led by Ursula von der Leyen and Sam Altman. Economic headwinds loomed, inflation ravaged emerging markets, per IMF warnings, while WEF's Global Gender Gap Report projected 134 years to parity, exacerbated by pandemic setbacks. Initiatives like the Nature Action Agenda, tying half of global GDP to ecosystem health, gained traction, with $1 invested in restoration, yielding $9 in returns. Yet, relevance cuts both ways. The Great Reset's call for resilient supply chains now informs EU Green Deals and Biden's infrastructure bills, but populist backlash, from Brexit to MAGA, rails against globalist overreach. Today's WEF mirrors a world in flux, its platforms bridging divides even as they widen them. Regional summits in Africa and Latin America amplify Southern voices, countering Eurocentric biases, while digital dialogues via the Global Shapers engaged 10,000 youth in 154 countries. Economically, stakeholder models drive shifts. BlackRock's $10 trillion portfolio now mandates climate disclosures, echoing WEF advocacy. Geopolitically, it facilitates quiet diplomacy. Post 9/11, the 2002 New York meeting showed solidarity, birthing health funds like the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria. But as AI ethics debates rage, the forum's role in standard setting, through the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, positions it as a de facto regulator, influencing everything from data privacy to biotech frontiers. The human stakes ground this global machinery. Behind the podiums are families fractured by inequality. A factory worker in Bangladesh, displaced by automation, the WEF seeks to reskill for. A farmer in Kenya, whose trillion-tree pledge restores drought-hit lands, but demands navigating corporate land grabs. Power here isn't brute force, but narrative, shaping how crises are framed, from COVID as a reset window to climate as an investment frontier. In boardrooms from Geneva to Beijing, QEF insights calibrate decisions affecting billions, yet access remains gated, fueling distrust. As Schwab stepped down in 2025, succeeded by Berger Brenda, the question lingers: can an elite convener evolve into a truly inclusive force? Or will it forever symbolize the chasm between the mountaintop and the valley below? Reflect on Davos not as a villain or savior, but a mirror to our interconnected fragility. Founded in hope amid Europe's ashes, the World Economic Forum has woven a web of influence that accelerates progress. Vaccines deployed, forests replanted, economies recalibrated, while exposing the perils of unbridled power. Its true might lies in the spirit Schwab championed: dialogue as disruption, turning rivals into reluctant partners. Yet, in an era of rising nationalism and eroding trust, this power demands scrutiny. The lesson? Global challenges demand global solutions, but only if forged with transparency and equity at their core. As the Alps stand sentinel, indifferent to human ambition, the Forum reminds us, true collaboration isn't summoned by invitation. It's earned through accountability. In reshaping the world, we must ensure no one is left drafting the agenda alone.